outdoor to better understand the environment. So there is a lack of funding, and also the resources are limited. Even if we want to learn in the classroom, so we do not have the resources to help the students learn about the environmental problems. Cultural and political barriers. The barriers or the cultural belief may downplay or reject environmental concerns. Next slide. So innovatives in environmental problem, we'll discuss it in very brief. Digital tools and virtual learning environment. Today we are digitally aware, and India is becoming digital. So various games are there that can help the students to understand about the environment, issues and concerns. Also, environmental and outdoor learning, sorry, experiential and outdoor learning. As I said, we have to let the students move outside the classroom so that they can better understand the environment. Interdisciplinary approaches should be used. Next slide. Citizen science and community involvement. Like we have also heard from the keynote speakers that community involvement or the local issues must be raised so that the students better understand the problem of the locals because they are a part of it. Promoting eco-literacy through whole school approach. Now, Sir said so nicely that when we are teaching students about the environmental issues, but after completing the classroom, finishing the classroom, we leave the lights on and fans on. So this approach should be included while teaching environmental education, as whole school approach will lead to a better school. Conclusion. Environmental education serves as a catalyst for meaningful change. Of course, we cannot deny to the fact for environmental education to be truly effective, it must be integrated in both the formal and non-formal ways. Of course, it has to be done in the classroom and also outside the classroom. Its implementation is hindrance by issues such as curriculum integration, inadequate teacher training, and resource limitations. Despite these challenges, innovations in digital technology, experiential learning, interdisciplinary approach, and community-based education offer promising pathways to overcome this obstacle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neha ma'am. Your findings were thought-provoking and highly relevant to our conference theme. Now, I would like if someone is having any questions from Neha ma'am. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I wanted to know what are the barriers to access the environmental education in underprivileged communities?
Underprivileged
Communities.
communities. Okay. Can you repeat the question?
What are the barriers to access the environmental education in underprivileged communities?
Okay. The first and the foremost thing of the underprivileged community is that they lack the facility or the opportunity to gain the normal education. So, if they are failing to do so, they cannot get into the normal schools. How will they understand about the education of environment? So, this is the biggest problem.
Thank you, ma'am. And my second question is, how can the technology such as a virtual reality or apps enhance the environmental education?
Of course, like I said, there are various games. Like, for example, I would like to mention, for example, there are games like you have to build up a tower, for example. So, like games, we have to focus on the ecology and the development of the nature. Like I Naturalist is one game. We can focus and help the students to play those games because everyone plays games. So they would also develop the interest to play games and also learn about the nature and the ecology.
Can you repeat the names?
I Naturalist game is there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Now, I would like to call Dr. Anjali Sahal, retired senior executive, Tata Steel. Welcome, sir.
Nice question you asked. I appreciate that question. Talk to me before you leave. I'll talk to you.
Afternoon sessions are a graveyard for speakers. Anyway, first I would like to welcome Professor Sunil Sarangi, who is the chairperson of this session, our rapporteur, Ms. Dr. Surina Buller, the management team of DPMS, senior management of Kolhan University, and of course, Professor Ashish Shrivastava. And finally, yes, the students and teachers of DPMS fraternity. As you can see, the title of my paper is Renewable Energy and its Future. I will not be dwelling on the education aspect straight away. But of course, I am also willing to answer questions on education aspect. First, what do we mean by definition of renewal? What is definition of renewable energy? In 2002, the International Energy Agency, that is IEA, defined renewable energy as the energy derived from natural processes that are replenished at a faster rate than they are consumed. Next, please. Now, when we talk of renewable energy, what is the significance of renewable energy? I'll begin with energy security. I remember very well 1973-74, I think it was, when the first time worldwide there was a Hadkamp when the oil producing countries, they raised the price of oil from $3 per barrel to $12. And the entire world was shaken. So what it led to was that there were actions all over the world to fight against the vulnerability to price fluctuation and threats. Then we talk about climate change mitigation. The greenhouse gas emissions from renewable energy sources are far less than fossil fuels. The use of renewable energy will curtail carbon footprint and the effects of climate change. Here, let me just dwell very briefly on carbon footprint. What do we mean by carbon footprint? Essentially, all the damage that we are doing to the environment through the gases route, they are measured in terms of units of carbon dioxide. And the major, the villains are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. So these are all coming under carbon footprints. Then we will talk about environmental sustain. In fact, all the points are connected with environmental sustainability. So that is why I put under bracket pollution mitigation. So renewable energy sources have less adverse environment impact than fossil fuels. When we talk of fossil fuels, we are talking about essentially coal and petroleum products. Technology advancement. Renewable energy will play a more significant role in meeting the world's energy requirements as technology develops. Now, this is where Dr. Pratim Sahai was talking about so many PhDs that are required. Now, they are required for technology advancements, really. And the skills required for developing those technologies are required. It is not just PhDs that will do, but we need a lot of engineers over there. Then the economic benefits. RE projects will strengthen the local economy, boost GDP, and generate jobs. You see, I remember many years ago I had the opportunity to go to Europe. It was Holland actually, the Netherlands. And I was actually amazed to see so many smaller power plants being driven by wind power. That time it did not really occur. That was maybe about 30, 35 years back. And it was difficult to conceive that, okay, how much they will help the humanity. But today we realize the power of the wind power. Next, please. The goals of Paris. Now, when we started facing the energy crisis, that of course started in 1973-74, but then subsequently in 2015, finally, when the world came together on the subject, and what they did was have an agreement which is enforceable actually. And what they said, what are the things that came out of that agreement? They limit the global temperature rise. Since the pre-industrial times, the temperature rise should not exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade. At best, it can go up to 2 degrees centigrade. So we should keep the temperature rise world over less than 1.5 degrees. And that is why there is an urgency to bring down carbon footprints, to lower the gases, greenhouse gases that we have in the environment. And this is why, in spite of the fact that countries may have coal and other resources at their disposal, they cannot afford to use them. They have to go to the alternate sources. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions significantly as soon as possible, reach a peak in greenhouse gases levels and keep them below what the earth, the trees and the oceans can naturally absorb between 2050 to 2100. If we don't do that, the earth is doomed. And this is why when we are talking about education, where you have to bring in environment education to the schools and colleges, a lot of work has to be done. Education is a slow process. It will take 20, 30 years, but if you don't start now, you will never stop this problem. Then provide climate finance. Now here I would like to share with you that in the recently concluded COP29, what the Western world calls COP29, they had reached an agreement. They did not actually reach an agreement. At the end of the discussion, what was concluded is that $15 trillion per year would be required to help the entire world meet this challenge. And the richer countries, which actually are the cause of a lot of these problems, they did not agree to it. I think they have agreed to $300 billion, and that too after 2035. That is absolutely inadequate. So, what is required is to assist underdeveloped countries in transitioning to RE sources and adapt to climate change. Then review nationally determined contributions periodically. That is, evaluate every 5 years how much each country has contributed to reducing emissions and ensure that each new contribution, that means each new target, is more ambitious than the previous one. And enhance capacities through transfer of technology. Yeah, I have still 2 minutes. Oh, thank you. So we need to bolster developing nations' ability to implement the agreement. Next. Now here, if you see the slide, then you will notice that we are doing pretty well as far as increasing the global capacity of renewable energy. In 2000, from 2014, when it was around 1.7 billion megawatt, it has gone up to 3.9 megawatt by 2023, that is in 9 years' time. Whereas the global production, it has increased from around 5.3 million to 8.4 million gigawatt hour. So this is a good progress, but this is not enough. Next, global energy capacity by 2035, it is expected that more than 50% of the electricity production will be powered by renewable energy sources. Next, please. Now, some of the fastest growing RE sources. Hydropower, where you use the power of flowing water for electricity generation. At 1295 gigawatt of energy production, hydropower is the most popular renewable energy source worldwide and ranks first in the list of the fastest growing renewable energy sources. It is 54% of the world's renewable energy generation capacity. Incidentally, in India, first power plant came up in, anybody can guess? I think it is 1897 in Darjeeling, a place close to Darjeeling. Fastest growing, can I continue? Thank you. Fastest growing, next, wind energy. It exploits wind's kinetic energy for electricity generation. And it is the second most widely used renewable energy source, producing 563 gigawatt or 24% of the renewable energy generation capacity. Solar power. Dr. Pratim Sahai was talking about China. He was giving the example of China, where he was talking about scale of operations. And when we talk about the moment the scale of operation goes up, the costs also come down. So it is predicted that the costs of solar power are predicted to fall by 15% to 35%. This is as per an article published in 2021. The cost should come down by 30 to 35%. Okay, and very interesting thing, something that we can learn from. UAE is home to Earth's largest solar power plant. The 1.17 gigawatt electricity produced by the Noor Abu Dhabi solar project provides power to 90,000 people. The project's yearly carbon footprint will be reduced by 1 million metric tons, which is equivalent of taking 200,000 cars off the road. Isn't that phenomenal? Then we come to bioenergy. It is the energy derived from the organic materials or biomass. When we talk of biomass, we mean plants, animals, harvest residues, crops, organic waste, animal dung, or human sewage through anaerobic digestion. So the agriculture sector plays an important role in the biogas market given the high availability of feedstocks such as animal manure and crop residues. European Union and UK are the only regions where biogas has been used significantly in agriculture and forestry. A few days back, Dr. Ashish Prasad, he spoke on the subject. Then we have, next is geothermal energy. This is the energy which is trapped in the Earth's crust, which is producing heat for about 4.5 billion years. And it is because of the friction between the continental plates and decay of radioactive elements. So this energy requires more technology and R&D to increase efficiency and lower cost, used in fewer countries only like Iceland, Kenya, Indonesia, China, Turkey, and Japan. Next, please. As a conclusion, the rise of renewable energy has led to severe positive outcomes, including lower carbon dioxide emissions and a rapid growth of renewable energy with the simultaneous decline of fossil fuels. When we talk of lower carbon dioxide emissions, the carbon dioxide intensity of global power generation reached a record low in 2023, which was 12% lower than its peak in 2007. A turning point, the rapid growth of renewable energy has likely brought the world to a turning point when fossil fuel generation declines globally. And finally, favored area for impact investment. It is bound to grow faster over the next 15 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your research has provided a fresh, prospective, and valuable solution that will undoubtedly inspire future discussion and actions. Thank you so much, sir. I would like if they have any questions from the student side. Yeah, please raise your hand.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, how cost effective is renewable energy compared to fossil fuels considering the total life cycle?
See, when we talk about costs, it cannot be at a certain point of time. What is required is that as you scale up the renewable energy, the cost will go down. Okay, I cannot talk about the cost. I don't have those figures, so why should I talk about it? But as a general principle, as the volume of work in this area goes up, the costs are coming down, and that is why China, in the last 20 years or less, they are having cheaper power production.
So I would want to ask you one more question. Will renewable energy create jobs?
That is what I mentioned in my presentation. It will. Because you're talking about new technology, new skills, and opportunity for jobs at a local level, at a village level, at a Gram Sabha level, at the district level. Lot of jobs will be because you are using the local resources. For example, sunlight. If you have sunlight over here, you have those photovoltaic cells, etc. Then you are naturally creating jobs for people.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from semester 1? Anyone would like to ask any question? Yeah?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My question to you is, what role do you think public awareness and education play in the transition to renewable energy?
It will play a significant role, but it is a time-consuming process. Because for example, you start getting educated today, the fruits of that education will come maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line.
One more question. What are the biggest challenges currently facing the implementation of renewable energy solution in different regions?
See, today, at a beginning stage, for any country actually, it is an expensive proposition. And as I told you, in the recently concluded COP29 that was in Baku, Azerbaijan, it was concluded. I think I gave a wrong figure, $5 trillion, $1.5 trillion per year. It's fine, huh? Oh, thank you so much for correcting me. So $5 trillion per year investment is required. Where will that type of money come from? No government can give, no single government can give. But the economically developed nations like Europe, I mean, it's not a nation, European Union. Then you have US, Canada. They are all very rich countries. Now, if they provide support to other countries, poorer nations, or developing countries, then it is possible to overcome this challenge earlier. I mentioned to you that the temperature that is required to be below the rise in temperature needs to be less than 1.5 degrees centigrade since the pre-industrial level. You do not have much time, next 20 years, 30 years. How do you contain it unless you act fast? And for that funds are required. And what the richer countries they are promising? $300 billion after 2035. That's a sorry state of affairs.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm sorry for taking another time.
It's okay, sir. Sir, we get more knowledge. Sir, 1 second, sir. There is a question from sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Cost of thermal power versus cost of renewable energy. Today, the cost of thermal power is approximately, national average is about 7 rupees per kilowatt, 7 to 8 rupees per kilowatt. When you install renewable energy like solar power, the cost is absolutely, it's not nil, but it is very, very low, barring the installation cost. So installation cost today in our country is approximately 40,000 rupees per kilowatt. So if you install a power, like we have installed here 100 kilowatt, it will cost us about 40 lakhs. But it will last, let us say, 20 to 25 years, but we can recover the money in about 6 years. So it will be approximately 16% return on investment you can get, which is quite good. Return on investment of 16% is relatively good. But as you rightly said, if the volume of solar panels production goes up, then the cost of setting up power plant will come down to approximately 30,000 rupees per kilowatt from present 40,000 rupees per kilowatt.
Sir, thank you so much for sharing the data. But since I did not have the data with me, I did not dare to answer that question.
बात वो चीज नहीं इधर देखिए
Thank you so
हमने
much,
रूम में
sir.
रखी है ना
And thank you, Dr.
अब ये जो
Ranjit
नए
sir. Now, our fourth presenter, Dr. Bengali Venugopala from Accelerate. I would like. Welcome, sir.
अब हम कैसे समझेंगे कि इसको किस रूम में असाइन कर ले देखिए हम यहाँ एडमिट किए एडमिट किए देखिए अब ये यहाँ पे आ गया ना अनअसाइन अब ये वैधवी को हम किस रूम में असाइन लेकिन वैधवी नाम की तो कोई है नहीं जो भी है स्टूडेंट होगा ऑडियंस होगा तो सबका लिस्ट बनाना था ना लिस्ट तो बना है कहाँ है लिस्ट है
Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity.
हाँ देखो
वो भी तो समझ में नहीं आया लेकिन रूम नंबर 1 में कौन है
रूम नंबर 3 में दीजिए देखो आपसे इन लोग को दे रही है पार्टिसिपेंट नहीं दीजिए
रूम नंबर 3
Okay.
रूम नंबर 3 में
So,
है
this paper is with
Dr.
my
Sunil Kumar
son,
Singh,
who is a professor at Griffith University, Australia. He's actually a
मेरा अच्छी
professor
हुई
in
है
aviation.
हाँ
So he was, we both of us have tried to do something about this, and we are working on this project, which is about willingness to pay.
सोहम बोस
So I'd like to go
स्टूडेंट है कि
back to
कोई
the
भी
last question, not last, but the person who has asked that question about public awareness. So it was not a planted question, but my paper is going to talk a little bit about that. And that is where the theme of education, though it is what we are going to talk about today, is how we should look at educating the people, the consumers, and here the consumers are passengers, about how they should also contribute towards this. So the paper is about airlines' willingness to pay carbon offset prices. So just before I start off, I'd like to talk about one small example. Like what we talk about in India is about LPG. Give up your subsidy. I think many of us have heard about give up subsidy. So recently, if you look at in terms of there are about 35 crore people who have LPG gas connections who are getting subsidy because of the price and other things. And government, I think it has launched this scheme, if I'm
मेरे हिसाब
correct,
से
in
देखिए रोम
2014
नंबर
or
1 में 21 जन
2017.
रोम नंबर 2 में
But
24 जन हो गए हैं रोम
you
नंबर
can
3 में
guess how
23
many
जन
people have actually given up subsidy despite
अभी
all
कौन
the type
किसका है
of
अब यहाँ तो हम दिखा रहे थे वो लेकिन
appeals
यहाँ
from
दिखा
the
रहे हैं
government,
कि
including the
they
Prime
would be a
Minister.
sector not
There
joined
is only 1 crore people who have given up subsidy out of 35 crore people, which actually accounts only for 3% of the people.
अनन्या सा है ये
So you can see the people are not coming forward to actually give up whatever is their entitlement, so-called entitlement, which they think it is their right. So this paper is actually trying to talk one dimension about that is about airline passengers, whether they are willing to pay for carbon offset prices. Because India has not yet started this, but there are several countries. I think in another by 27, every country will going to become mandatory. As of now, few countries have signed an agreement as far as carbon offset prices with respect to airline tickets. So this is something where you have to pay extra for carbon footprint reduction and other things. So just to build up that context, let me just talk about how this whole issue is. So if you look at airport accessibility, even in India nowadays, you see the amount of air travel is being increasing. If you go to an airport, it is like a railway station now. It is becoming quite easy to travel by air, and most of the younger generation are actually traveling by air. I don't think many of you are actually using trains, except of course Jamshedpur we are forced because of the location. So if you look at the worldwide, the areas which are becoming accessible to air, then if you look at the colors, so the green, light green is where it is, there are a lot of airports which are within 100 kilometers. To take India, only 50% of the population has an access to an airport within 100 kilometers. But it may increase with the access of Udan type of schemes which are there. And India is supposed to be one of the fastest growing in terms of aviation. The growth of India domestic travel is 4.6, which is quite high, and the capacity also growing very high. And then I think by 2030, India is supposed to be one of the biggest, third highest market as far as air travel is concerned. So if you talk in terms of the entire problem of carbon emissions per passenger, let me just try to read out these numbers, I may not remember. So it emits per an average 53 pounds, which is equal to 24 kg of carbon per mile, and this is in terms of per passenger, that is the amount of carbon emissions that are emitted if you travel by air. That is economic. If you travel by business or first class, it is going to be much higher. And The emissions have increased from 32% between 2013, and in terms of currently it is about 1.034 gigatons. And airlines are contributing currently only about 2.2 to 3%, but it is expected to increase up to 25 to 30% in another 4 or 5 years because of the growth in terms of the entire airline industry. And since people are traveling by air, and there was a survey conducted to find out how many people are willing to use other options. It was only about 8% of the people were willing to use other options other than airlines. Maybe because of convenience, speed, and so many other factors which are there. So with the demand increasing, this is what I said, about 22 to 30% is what is likely to be by, it is to 2050, which will almost double in terms of the amount of carbon emission which is likely there. So if you look at in terms of the growth of the entire carbon emissions which has happened between 1940 to 2020, you can see the growth, and what is important is the impact on climate change. So this is the graph which actually shows what has been the impact of the carbon emissions on the climate change which is there. So this is what is called as carbon dioxide radioactive forcing. That's the method by which they calculate what is the impact on the carbon footprint. Now talking about, looking at the different options that airlines have various different types of options that they are looking at. One is which is mandatory. Then airport management. A lot of airports are doing, they are becoming green airports. They are doing a lot of airport management systems to reduce in terms of the carbon footprint. Aircraft. Lot of in terms of fuel, which is one of the biggest ways in which airlines are trying to look at. Even in terms of designing the aircraft such that they are going to become little more better in terms of the draft and other things which are there. So how the airlines are looking at it. But given the fact that technology in terms of airlines and the fact about safety, a lot of studies have talked about that this will be one of the most difficult areas to decarbonize. So as far as airlines, because of safety factor, a lot of people are concerned about whether it is going to be about safety will be there or not. So let me move towards the basic question which is there in terms of carbon offset pricing. So this is where the whole concept of carbon offset pricing was introduced, where passengers are asked to pay a certain price to offset their carbon emissions. So the airlines is not reducing their emissions, but the passenger is paying for reduction which is going to be taken up by some other NGO or some other way which is going to reduce the carbon emissions. But looking at in terms of the carbon willingness to pay, only about 1% of the people are actually willing to pay. So there are different factors which are there. One is in terms of awareness. A lot of people are not aware about what is the whole concept of carbon footprint, carbon offset pricing. Knowledge is also not there. What does it mean in terms of how this is going to really reduce the carbon footprint? Also, how airlines are actually using this. All this is been a problem in terms of this. And interest, as I said, only about 1% of the people are actually willing to pay for this. And coming to this question about people's willingness to pay or awareness and other things which was there, but talking about attitude, the question is why should I pay? Because it's not my responsibility, and a lot of people have actually talked about it. So I'll just take 1 or 2 minutes if it is okay. So the whole point is how do we really educate them, and that is where we are talking about trying to create a framework that how we should be talking about educating, and this is the answer to the question, not the answer for directly, but something that we should be doing that how we should first start with the technical knowledge, then try to segment the people based on the technical knowledge. Because once we understand the demographics, as you said, in terms of urban people or rural people or different types of segments, how do we really communicate? How do we really come talk to them? And that is where we have to move to an emotional type of communication. And finally, look at it in terms of what does it mean in terms of the value based type of thing. So this is a broad framework that we are doing. I'll just end with this. Where how we can try to talk about it. I won't go into this details since of lack of time, but I'll be happy to discuss this offline or even now if there are any questions. So thank you and hope we all of us are going to pay for the reduction in the carbon footprint. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your research with us. Is there any questions from the student side? Okay, sir. Shivani, this side.
ये कौन लगा के निकाल के रखा लगाया छोड़ पता नहीं मेरा दिया हुआ
Yeah, thank you, sir. As you suggested, every one of us applied, 20 years back, we were not buying so much. Today, money has come into the hands of so many people that, even if there's a borderline, we fly. And then we have to fly. That is it, the convenience just comes into fly. But what we are missing out is, like today, if you land into Bangalore, for you to go to from a Bangalore airport to any of the place like Koromangala or anywhere, I think you are more carbon negative rather than flight. So that is also one thing that we all have to consider. And most important, I feel I will not deviate from the whole topic. I think the airlines have to very clearly publicize that exactly the fund that they are taking as offset funds, how they are using it, and how it is efficient. Because I will give you money once you are convincing me that you are utilizing my money on the right track. So I think that is something which our government can be as the airlines do. I think that will make a difference. We certainly need it. We are willing to pay, but we will pay only if we are made aware that how exactly are you using those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just show you that I think because what you said is absolutely right. That I'm going back or forward. Go forward. I will forward.
श्याम नंदन मिश्रा करके
So
कोई
what the point you said was important.
अंजलि सिंह कौन सा श्याम नंदन मिश्रा किस रूम में
Next, yes. Yeah. Next speaker. Yes. This one. See that I think that is what is important. Basically, that attitude behavior, which is primarily saying that first you do your bit, then you ask us to do. So as you rightly said, the airline should do their bit and say that this is what we are doing, and try to convince us or convince the people that this is what we are doing, and then you should do that. Yes. If yes. Yes, and after. Correct. 100%. Thank you. That was a really correct point that I should have pointed out. Yeah.
Any questions?
The student, I think, had a.
Any questions from the student side?
Good afternoon, sir. So, like when we talk about the present scenario, one of the greatest issues that we are facing is climate change. So, what are the cleaner forms of transportation that we can switch to apart from electric vehicles?
Walking. That is the best.
But when we have to travel for long
No, and it's a wonderful question, and see, if you look at in terms of this is the point that I was saying that only 8% people are actually willing to move out of it. And if you take a car at the point that sir was talking about moving from Bangalore airport in terms of this, that is going to be more carbon in terms of emissions as compared to the airlines. But pooling of the car, the same car, if there are 4 people, I think that would make a difference. See, if I just go back to my research and look at it in terms of transport, we don't have a real in terms of comparison between different transports in India. But in Europe, you use Eurostar. That's called Eurostar or Eurail. That's the lowest compared to other type of things. So then is the coach, bus. Then is a car which is pooled. Then subsequently the airlines, and individual car is the most carbon emissions which is there.
So I think we have it in India also. Like if you in Bangalore, you have buses which take you to
Correct.
major point. But how many of us are using it is a very important
Yes,
thing.
because I want my car to come there, I want somebody to pick me up, all that is going to be there, which is a costly. Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Dr. Priyanka Jha, Principal, Project Girls High School, Patamda, and Dr. Syed Azrul Haq, Assistant Professor, Jamshedpur Women's Workers College, Kanpur. We welcome you, sir.
यहाँ पे उपस्थित सभापति महोदय, सभी सदस्य, माननीय सदस्य, स्टूडेंट्स और जितने भी शिक्षक और शिक्षक के रूप में यहाँ जो सेवा दे रहे हैं या शिक्षा जगत से जो भी जुड़े हुए हैं, उन सबको झारखंड की तरफ से जोहार। Clean and green environment using the biocomposing natural fiber. आज जब मैं इस प्रांगण में अपना कदम रखा तो मैं बहुत सुदूर ग्रामीण क्षेत्र पटौदा से आई हुई हूँ, जो कि प्रकृति के गोद में ही बसा हुआ एक छोटा सा गांव है और जमशेदपुर से सटा हुआ है। हम बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे प्रकृति के बारे में, लेकिन बस इस हॉल में तक प्रकृति नहीं रह गई है। हमें अगर समाधान चाहिए, समस्या हमारे सामने है, प्लास्टिक, ग्लास, बहुत सारे ऐसे केमिकल्स जिसमें हम जी रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर हमें समाधान चाहिए तो हमें प्रकृति के गोद में भी जाना पड़ेगा। जैसे हम कहते हैं बुद्धम शरणम गच्छामि, ध्यानम शरणम गच्छामि, वैसे ही प्रकृतिक शरणम गच्छामि। और यहाँ का जो सबसे पहले में आई और यहाँ में देखी कि जो नेचुरल फाइबर के बारे में आज मैं बात करूंगी, यहाँ बैग के रूप में नेचुरल फाइबर यूज किया गया है, इसमें प्रकृति ब्रेव लिखा हुआ है और साथ ही साथ जितने सारे चीज हैं वो नेचुरल फाइबर से बने हुए हैं। इसी चीज को मैं एक्सप्लेन करने आई थी। इसके लिए जो भी ऑर्गेनाइजर है, मैं थैंकफुल हूँ कि उन्होंने इस शब्द का, प्रकृति शब्द का यहाँ पर मान रखा है। All are abstract because we are talking about the pollution is directly related with the water pollution. And direct water pollution means lots of chemical. Jamshedpur is an industrial city, and lots of factories are there, and multiple chemicals, heavy metals, all are coming from the industries and directly goes to the river and destroy our river system, ecosystem. All are examples. There are many reasons for the water pollution. You can see that some natural reasons include the mixing of biodegradable parts, parts of plants, animals with the fresh water, sanitation during the coastal erosion and others. The condition of soil and groundwater in Jamshedpur is very poor. We can see the example of the Mango River near the breeze. वहाँ पे पूरा ही अभी आप देख सकते हैं जाकर कि जलकुंभी वाटर हाइसिन जो होते हैं ग्रीन कलर के वो एक प्लांट्स है वो पूरा रिवर सिस्टम को डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया है. Especially the river are frequently polluted by the people in the polluted industry and river water also contaminated through the discharge of heavy metals. Heavy metals जो इनका हाईली कॉम्पोजिशन होता है जो कि जल्दी वो डिग्रेडेट नहीं होते हैं और दे आर गोइंग टू द इकोसिस्टम डे बाय डे एंड डिस्ट्रॉय द फ्रेश वाटर रिवर सिस्टम ponds, even not only the pond, oceans also. Millions of tons of plastic are produced worldwide each year. For example, 2018 global production reaches hundreds of millions of tons. This increasingly have the consequence all level of ecological organization. प्लास्टिक का सब्स्टिट्यूट है नेचुरल फाइबर.
रूम नंबर 1 ये जो आपको भेजा उसमें
these are the problem. Now we come to the topic natural fiber. All fibers which come from the natural source like a plant animals are called a natural fiber. Natural fibers are greatly elongated the substance produced by the plant and animals. Natural fibers are excellent raw material for production of wide range of composite of different applications. Natural fibers are directly biodegradable substances, like they are made of the polymers and they easily destroyed by the microorganism of our ecology or ecological system. We can see here there are lots of plant and animal fiber. Plant fiber, we can see softwood, hardwood, teak, jute, hemp, and leaf. In a rural area, we can see the banana, palm, pineapple. These leaves we can use as a natural fiber. Seeds we can use cotton and coconut. Grass is bamboo rice. And we can add one my PhD thesis is on like we work on a sungrass. Substitution of plastic is also form of the sungrass and it is also a natural fiber. हम लोग उसको कुश बोलते हैं. दुर्गा पूजा के समय में वो यूज होता है, बहुत सारा होता है, तो उसका वो भी नेचुरल फाइबर की तरह हम लोग यूज कर अप्लीकेबल फ्यूचर के लिए हम लोग उसको ला रहे हैं. नेचुरल फाइबर जो है वो पॉलीमर मैट्रिक्स होता है, एक स्ट्रक्चर होता है. दे आर रिन्यूएबल चीप एंड कंप्लीटली पार्शियली रिसाइक्लेबल होता है, बायोडिग्रेडेबल एंड रिसाइकल. वी कैन रिसाइकल दिस थिंग्स इजीली. नेचुरल फाइबर आर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड विद द मैट्रिक्स मटेरियल सच एज प्लास्टिक, थर्मोप्लास्टिक एंड बायोपॉलीमर. Natural fibers being eco-friendly, they are eco-friendly and very lightweight. These are the difference between the natural fiber and the synthetic fiber. the natural fiber, then it become a more strong. ये हम लोगों का एक अभी हम लोगों का इसके पे काम चल रहा है कि हैवी मेटल के साथ भी नेचुरल फाइबर को अगर हम लोग लैब में अगर हम लोग न्यू एक सिंथेटिक बायो फाइबर का बनाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं. The accumulation and translocation of heavy metal in water has been the example of water has been the necessary and maximize the use of green resources to eliminate the site impact by the e-waste recycling activity. And you can see these are the water hyacinth fibers, natural fiber, and deposition of heavy metal. It become a more strong. Application of natural fiber. We can there are lots of application. नॉन इंजीनियरिंग में यूज कर सकते हैं, मेडिकल में, ऑटोमोबाइल, फर्नीचर, पैकेजिंग, कंस्ट्रक्शन, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक, मैराइन. These are the examples. The main thing is that moisture absorption is called the swelling of fiber. They are UV sensitive. Natural fibers are UV sensitive. लो ड्यूरेबिलिटी होता है, लो इम्पैक्ट स्ट्रेंथ होता है इसमें. नेचुरल फाइबर का एक और भी एग्जांपल मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि हम लोग नेचुरल फाइबर यहाँ स्टूडेंट के साथ में मैं ज़्यादा बात करना चाहूंगी क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स आप फ्यूचर में जाके यू आर फ्यूचर और आप उन सभी स्कूल्स में जाओगे तो आप बच्चे को शुरू दिन से ही इको क्लब के माध्यम से इकोलॉजी जो हमारा स्टार्ट होता है क्लास 10 से क्लास 12 से, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट को ये स्टार्ट करना चाहिए स्टैंडर्ड 5 से 4 से. देन they can know the natural fiber use. हम लोग वो पत्ते में खाना छोड़ दिए हैं. We prefer plastic more. तो अपने कंफर्टेबल जोन से निकलकर हम लोग प्रकृति की तरफ से अगर सोचेंगे और ज्यादा से ज्यादा हम लोग खुद नेचुरल फाइबर से बने चीजों को प्रमोट करेंगे. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि हम बाहर से किसी को अगर वो प्रमोट कर रहे हैं तो वहां से लें. आप खुद से इकोलॉजी इको क्लब के माध्यम से स्कूल्स में बच्चे को बनाना सिखाएं कि नेचुरल फाइबर से खुद से बनाओ और यूज करो. गांव में आप देखोगे कि पत्ते में बच्चे खाते हैं. आज भी सारा चीज पत्ता में होता है, सब चीज आपको नेचुरल होता है, इसलिए वहाँ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट की बात सही करी जाती है. लेकिन अगर हम शहर में आ जाते हैं बातें होती हैं बट बस वो बातें रह जाती हैं. लेकिन इसको हमें बच्चे के जहाँ तक पहुँचाना है कि अगर प्रकृति नहीं है तो हम नहीं हैं. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, ma'am and sir. Your research has shed light on important aspects that align perfectly with an objective. Thank you so much. We would like if there is any questions from the audience side.
Good evening, ma'am. How can the development and adoption of biocomposite technologies contribute to job creation and economic growth in rural and urban areas?
Yeah, this is the part of biotechnology and lots of now a generation आगे आने वाली जनरेशन जो है वो पूरा बायोटेक्नोलॉजी पे ही डिपेंड है. और रूरल एरिया में जितना भी आप देख लो हम लोग जो बोल रहे हैं गांव की ओर चलिए, प्रकृति की ओर चलिए, तो वहाँ पर ग्राम लेवल पे एक सहकारिता समूह होता है जहाँ पे ग्रामीण मतलब कि महिलाएं काम करती हैं. तो उन लोगों को रोजगार जनरेट होगा. एग्रीकल्चर, जब हम नेचुरल फाइबर की बात बोल रहे हैं तो बायोटेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करके नेचुरल फाइबर को हम लोग प्रमोट करके, जैसे कि हम लोग पाम से जो तार का पेड़ होता है उससे चटाई बनाना छोड़ दिए हैं. लेकिन वो चटाई आपको पता होना चाहिए कि वो हमारे लिए कितना बेनिफिशियल है बैठने के लिए. तो वो उसको प्रमोट करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट को या स्टेक होल्डर जो भी हैं उनको आगे आना पड़ेगा और गांव में जाकर ये रूरल साथ ही साथ अर्बन, अगर रूरल इसमें इन्वॉल्व होंगे तो अर्बन जो भी पढ़े लिखे हैं बायोटेक्नोलॉजी जिन्होंने अच्छे से पढ़ा है वो अप्लीकेबल वहाँ कर सकते हैं और रोजगार का वहाँ पे सृजन हो सकता है, वहाँ पे डेवलपमेंट कर सकते हैं और ज्यादा से ज्यादा हम लोग अपने देश को भी बायोडिग्रेडेबल जो हम लोग कॉन्सेप्ट ला रहे हैं उस पर काम कर सकते हैं।
डॉक्टर सैयद इस्माइल खान, मेरा रिसर्च इसी पर टॉपिक पे था, नेचुरल फाइबर कंपोजिट। तो इसमें हम लोगों ने फाइबर का प्लेट बनाया जो कि एज यूज़ कर सकते हैं हम लोग, जैसे लकड़ी का जो है प्लेट है इस टाइप से। तो इसमें हम लोग जो है कंपोजिट मटेरियल मीन्स की इपॉक्सी और हार्डनर दे के एक मैट्रिक्स में फाइबर को लेते हैं, 3 किस्म का अलग अलग पेड़ का, और हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इसके ऊपर काम हो, क्योंकि हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि इजराइल और दूसरे विदेशों में इसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा काम हो रहा है। तो इंडिया में अभी उतना ज़्यादा इसके ऊपर काम नहीं हुआ है। जैसे उन्होंने कहा कि इसका कितना स्कोप्स है और इसमें जॉब कितना है, तो जॉब अभी इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा है। क्या है कि हम लोग देख रहे हैं यहाँ जो प्लेट जो भी हम लोग ये सब लकड़ी का यूज़ कर रहे हैं, इसमें हम लोग फाइबर का यूज़ कर सकते हैं। और यहाँ पर वाटर हाइनेस का हम लोग देखे हैं तो इसको भी हम लोग, और क्या कपास, ये सब जो है नेचुरल मटेरियल्स है और इजीली अवेलेबल है। और हम लोग तो जो एक्सपेरिमेंट किए इसमें जो इपॉक्सी था वो भी हमारा जो था फुल्ली नेचुरल मटेरियल्स से बना हुआ था, और हार्डनर भी हम लोग जो है नेचुरल मटेरियल्स का ही लिए हैं। और पूरा हम लोग का प्रोजेक्ट जो है 90 कंपोज किया, जो उसका लैब को यूज़ करके हम लोगों ने बनाया, और बहुत अच्छा हम लोग का रिसर्च रहा इसके ऊपर। तो इसका बहुत सारा एडवांटेजेस और फीचर्स है, इसके ऊपर बहुत सारा काम हो रहा है और बहुत ज़्यादा रोजगार का इसमें ऑप्शंस है। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, sir and ma'am. Now we are going forward to the last presenter of our technical session. Dr. Ishita Ghosh, Associate Professor from Netaji Subhash Chandra University.
Khan.
So last presentation, I hope you will concentrate. Some points I would like to raise over here. First of all, let me start with the words. ये न पूछो कि मेरी मंजिल कहाँ है, ये न पूछो कि मेरी मंजिल कहाँ है, अभी तो चलने का इरादा क्या है। हारूंगा न हार में उम्र भर, हारूंगा न हार में उम्र भर, किसी और से नहीं खुद से ये वादा किया है। Warm good afternoon wishes to the esteemed dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating the 2-day international conference on green initiatives. Myself, Ishita, presenting on the topic the science of greener earth, a happier planet and smiling individuals. We have only one planet to leave, the earth, and we are the individuals, and we are there to either make it or mar it. So let's see what's happening now and what will be our future if we go at this rate on. So the discussion will be on these topics: the science behind the climate change, the observed impact, the future projections, and mitigating the future. First of all, the greenhouse effect. Okay, and it should be there, otherwise our earth will be much cooler and we won't be able to live in that earth. So greenhouse effect is essential. In brief, I would like, and after hitting the earth, when it becomes, the temperature of the earth raises and the infrared radiations
are reflected from the earth. They are trapped by the greenhouse gases. As you know, some of them, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, carbon dioxide and all. They trap the heat and they don't let the heat of the earth go down too much. That's fine, that's okay, that should be there. But natural greenhouse effect should be there. Otherwise, the earth will be very cooler and we won't be able to stay. But this one is harming us. The human enhanced greenhouse effect. So what's there? See, you can see the envelope is getting thicker and thicker because of the greenhouse emissions increasing at an alarming rate. So when the trap is more, the heat which is there inside the earth is going up as a result of this thicker trap. The heat radiated from the earth is unable to leak out and the earth is getting hotter in general. So green initiatives, this can be classified in 3 particular departments. So these are the principles of green management: balancing the socio-economic environment performance, sustainability, implementing practices, energy consumption that has to be reduced, that has to be sustained, that has to be done in a better way, and also designing products that will have minimal environmental impact. Now, environment is not a topic of Jamshedpur or Jharkhand or India. It's a global topic, and UN also has discussions and elaborations on it. One of the main topics is also environment, and you can see that we have to, along with other topics of importance, global importance, environment is also one of them which has to be taken care of. So how are we affected? When the things are changing in an alarming rate, the temperature is going up, the nature is also responding in an alarming way, which is causing disturbance to the life on earth. These are the few pictures showing the effects pinpointedly where it has been created. So first and foremost cause of concern is the global warming. Global warming, as you can see, how the temperature of the globe, temperature of the worldwide regions are increasing. It has been indicated in the graph, and you can see the regions which are more heated, the temperature is rising up, and this is a cause of concern. So these are the points which we need to understand to control the climate change, because we are at a risk of endangering or endangering our planet Earth. Now, not only the temperature, the precipitation has also been affected, and as you can very well see, the amount of rainfall we are receiving now has changed. We are just getting thirsty for rainwater now on. So things will get worse from in the future if we are unable to control the happenings around us. So these are the points to understand that who are the stressors, who can help, and how do we do it. So data collection is more important, and understanding and implementing, analyzing the data is the other important job at hand. So science has a crucial role to play. These are the few areas of importance that science will be applied, and science will help to mitigate the problems coming in future. These are the graphs, very important graphs. If we are continuing at this alarming rate, then what is going to happen to our planet Earth? These are the graphs which will show that. You can see the predictions. It is going up and up. The global warming has touched the mark where it should not be. So, if we categorize the nature from the point, you can see we have made 4 categories. The fear of nature. The early man used to fear the nature, and then we had different things going on. We used just to collect and hunt, and that was our economy. Then we changed our nature, agriculture came into being, and we concentrated on agriculture for our livelihood, and that was all we had to do. But after that, we had the initiative of conquering the nature, as if the nature can be conquered, and industrial civilization crept in, and there came many problems that we are just now at hand. And finally, we are now able to understand that we won't be able to conquer the nature. Rather, we should be complying with the nature, and that's where ecological civilization has crept in, and low and green carbon development has started. These are again some graphs showing what will be in the near future if we don't mind our business. This is what it was in the beginning, the black line. The blue line shows where it will reach if we do it aggressively now on. And rest, if we are controlled, if we know what to do, then the things will be down. Next, these are some more graphs showing different aspects in the near future. These are the projected greenhouse, why we should be alert. Increasing in temperature, and you can see the fossil fuel burning will create a good amount of fear if we are unable to control it. This is another alarming factor, the global sea rise. If we are unable to contain it, this can rise to alarming rates, and it will be surely a danger for us. These are the consequences which are not good, and these are the impact which are caused by us, and obviously the human has a big role to play. These are the change of pH values, again one factor of science which is affecting us, and this is all we need to do. Finally, these are the policies, the mitigation and adaptation. Many things had already been done. The nature has been already been crippled. Now it's our time to stop it, to move it to a good one, and mitigation will always prevent those which had already not been taken up. So these are the factors, or these are the points which we can use for adaptation and mitigation strategies. And finally, this is the whole toolkit which the youth of the generation has to follow for a better future and a greener earth. Finally, I would like to conclude by saying that there is no planet B. We need to concentrate on your planet Earth, and it's up to us, the young generation, not to just give loud lectures, but to do something tangible for protecting our nature Earth. Finally, I would like to conclude by saying, woods are lovely, dark and deep, but we have promises to keep, and miles to go before we sleep, and miles to go before we sleep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your insightful presentation. Now, I would like to invite Professor Sunil Kumar Sarangi sir to share his views and thoughts with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's quite a humbling experience. While listening to this wonderful presentations by all the scholars, I went back to my days as a student, and I was reading something which has been enshrined in my heart. And the line goes like this: "The old is dying and the new cannot be born," says Antonio Gramsci, a social scientist. And that's exactly the dilemma that is confronting all of us today. And this is, as probably the last presenter, Dr. Ghosh, put it, it is no longer an academic, fashionable conversation. This is an absolute monster which is staring down all our eyes, all our souls. And yes, what should we do? I'm not sure, I'm too small to be saying. I think all of us need to take collective action. But I also would like to, as the chairperson of this session, my moral responsibility is to really go point by point what probably presenters have done. I'll try to limit it, but there's a lot of takeaways, starting with probably the Dijkstra's algorithm. The presenter, I think it's Ms. Kanandhara. it's a wonderful, brilliant mathematical algorithm. Probably I also got drawn to it quite some time ago. I'm not sure if people are not adopting. Yes, airlines, Medicare, and I believe urban planners, and of course military generals, all of them default to it. I'm not sure if really that would be one-stop shop for planners, for designers, for architects to really reduce the carbon footprint. I'm not sure, but this is probably the best that we have as far as mathematics is concerned. And thanks a lot. I think I congratulate you, man, for really connecting the dots. This is brilliant. That's the reason why I think it is the responsibility of all teachers like us to make sense of what we teach, not only the concepts which should be taught in isolation, but we must try to make it as relevant as possible because today's generation is always asking what's in it for me. And probably as a business school professor, I nobody would understand the pain and agony of answering that question than I do day in, day out. Yes, we need to make sense. And I think you did really make sense. Second, of course, we have Dr. Neha. I would say yes, it was a worthy topic. It was a topic that elicited a lot of my emotional response. But I have really nothing to say except the fact that yes, it was extremely relevant and well presented. Then we had Dr. Sahai, Anjani Sahai. It was brilliant. I mean, I was frankly speaking, I was really feeling so happy because he tried and covered as many points as he could. And of course, he was very generous in saying that $300 billion was agreed upon. But the inside story is, frankly speaking, a lot of people literally put guns to the temples of the Western countries to really agree to $300 billion. Initially, they were only saying we would only give $50 billion. So you can imagine $5 trillion is required, and they are saying we will give you $50 billion. That's not even a drop in the ocean, I believe, a metaphor that I would draw. But yes, sir, you're absolutely right, and you did tremendous research in terms of presenting what you presented, and your depth and of course scale was huge, wonderful. Then of course, I'm humbled to say that he's a senior colleague of mine. When I was working in this institution, he was leading as the dean, Dr. Venupal. It's an extremely academic and thick presentation, but it's a beautiful, I would say, psychological factor that he was trying to touch on. Because are we willing to pay? And that's the big question. I think when I was listening to the second or third presentation, one of the members from the audience asked this question: what about in the race to really decarbonize, in the race to really make it green? What about the people who are poor? Can we really make them aware of this environmental science, the high physics and mathematics of saving the planet? Yes, that's the dilemma that all of us face. That's the reason why probably the countries like China, countries like India, and of course Nigeria, if you look at the COP26 presentation, what the Nigerian representative, she literally was tearing up. She cried and she said, you cannot lecture us when you've destroyed this earth. But I have a different take, friends. Just because somebody has caused immense harm by way of life, that doesn't give us the right to really redo the things because I have got my quota to fulfill. I would say that's definitely not right. That's, as a teacher, I would say this is unscientific, but the pain is real, but the pain is misplaced. As a teacher, I always remember my days as a student. I was, frankly speaking, I don't know what I have done in my life, but I was very studious. My life meant being buried in the books. And while being buried in the books, I stumbled into one of the beautiful moments of my life, which I can never forget. And that happened what? On the 14th of 1990, 14th February 1990. This was a very special day because that day, Voyager 1, NASA launched Voyager 1 into deep space. And that particular day, Voyager 1 had already crossed close to or more than 5 billion kilometers from Earth. It was about to go beyond the solar system. Not heliopause, but solar system. And that moment, one of my childhood, role models, the great Carl Sagan, he literally impressed on NASA to switch on the camera. To take one last shot of the only planet, as probably the presenters, including the last presenter, so profoundly said it. This is the only home that we've got. There is no second home. And that's exactly what was triggering the great Carl Sagan's heart and mind when he literally influenced NASA to take the last shot, because taking the last shot means facing the camera towards sun and also running the risk of damaging the camera for the rest of the journey that Voyager has still been making into the deep space. And it took about 50 shots of our Mother Earth. And that's the most humbling, that's the most beautiful, that's the greatest selfie that anybody could have taken. And from more than 5 billion kilometers away, when NASA was taking those snaps, one of the beautiful moving snaps that Carl Sagan puts it, probably the finest lines ever to have been written, including my favorite, the Shakespeare's of the world. I would say the finest poetry he wrote. He said, "Look at this little dust suspended in the sunbeam, and it looks absolutely surreal. It looks absolutely divine. It looks unexplainable, and it looks like a small little dot, which he calls lovingly the pale blue dot. And it's precariously suspended in sunbeam. Then you realize how insignificantly, how infinitesimally small we are in the scheme of this universe, in the scheme of this science, in the scheme of this creation. Thereby, it calls each one of us to be more kind, to be more respectful, and last but not least, to be more empathetic towards each other, as a nation, as a society, as an individual. And then he goes on to say that's the reason why astronomy and astrophysics is such a character building, humbling exercise in human life. And that's what probably I keep telling myself, I keep telling my students. But today, yes, as we stand at this particular important moment of our lifetime, this is no longer an academic conversation. This is a very, very important policy decision that probably the leaders of the state will have to make. And for them to be able to make those decisions, they need to be aware, they need to be taught, they need to be extremely well versed in the science of climate change. Because as a teacher, I probably, sorry if I'm really name dropping, but that drives my life. One paper or couple of papers that I think I would request all of you to read. They're published, of course, by Science and Nature, but they can be found in Stockholm Resilience Center Publishing Archive. Is The Planetary Boundaries, written by the great Johann Rockström. And the planetary boundaries is given the framework of 9 dimensions. And out of the 9 dimensions, probably we've gone beyond the point of no return. It sounds very scary, very apocalyptic, but the fact of the matter is, yes, we have stepped beyond the point of no return in terms of climate change, because the average that was set was 350. Now the global average is 417 ppm. Then we have also gone beyond point of no return in terms of biogeochemical flow, point of no return, and the third element, loss of biodiversity, which is extremely scary. But again, the debate is whether it is 3 or 6, we don't know, but we have gone far beyond point of no return. So it calls for tremendous amount of caution, tremendous amount of empathy, great respect for the generation that is yet to come. I think I love that poetic line that Earth is a planet, that we've got this as not as inheritance. This is a loan which has been provided by our forefathers, and this is a debt that we have towards our posterity. So this is extremely important. Only science is not going to suffice. Probably science will have to be coupled with divinity, with spirituality, and most importantly, compassion for each other, and compassion for even the creatures that are not counted as humans. We know only human rights. What about animal rights? What about rights of germs? What about rights of things that we can't even see? They also have rights. So this is very, very important. And yes, there's a lot that probably I would say. Yes, I got some moral authority to say aloud, because I'm probably somebody, I'm not saying how amazing I am. I don't have a car, I don't have a vehicle, and I have told my boy, my son, what a privilege it is not to have a car. And thankfully, probably, I have succeeded in really communicating and persuading my son that it is indeed a privilege not to have a car. And he's got it so right that the other day he was saying, Dad, it's really a privilege not to have any vehicle. So I believe I'm doing my bit to this planet. And yes, this is a very, very important discussion. I think we need to keep talking, we need to keep discussing. And the more we discuss, the more we talk, I think the more people will hear, and the more people will be aware, and the more people will be spiritually driven. At the same time, yes, we can't forget the underprivileged people, the poor people. For them, getting food, getting shelter, there's a tremendous challenge. We need to be empathetic, compassionate towards them. But at the same time, yes, I was thinking Dijkstra's algorithm. We need to create the shortest path from the source to different nodes of development. I think it's a holistic, extremely eclectic collection of knowledge, liquid knowledge, where we need physics, we need mathematics, we need science, we need chemistry, we need nuclear science, we need spirituality, we need philosophy, and we need, of course, we need astrophysics to combine and to create an intersection of solution for all of us. Thank you. It's a privilege and a pleasure to have been here. Thank you.
different technical sessions held in different rooms. Mrs. Kanchan Kumari. Mrs. Kanchan Kumari. Dr. Surya Bhudar Singh. Mrs. Poonam Kumari. Mrs. Poonam Kumari. Dr. Meenakshi Chaudhary. Mrs. Archana Kumari. Ms. Maushmi Datta. Thank you, sir. I request Professor Dr. Ashish Srivastava to kindly give a certificate to the head of the technical sessions, Mrs. Pamela Ghosh Datta. Thank you, sir. I request Mr. S. Dharmarajan to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
A very good evening to everyone. Let us begin by Mrs. Sripriya Dharmarajan, Dr. Monica Uppal, Mrs. Sudha Dilip, Mrs. Padma Shiva, Mr. Anthony Pandeji, and I know I'm missing quite a few names. Apologies for the same, but yes, it would not have been possible without all of you working as a team together. Kudos to the entire team at UMS College of Education. We were welcomed with a beautiful and thought-provoking song. Thank you, Amrita Chaudhary ji and your students. It was a lovely day. Many thanks to our chief guest and guide, Sri Sarjurai ji, for blessing the occasion and also his deep insights on the subject. We knew he was an avid environmentalist, but given a chance to listen to him speak on the subject was few, and we had the opportunity today. Same about Mr. Rituraj from Tata UICL for his presence and support as always. Our beloved and Sri Sanjeev Anand ji, CVC and PR at Kolar University. We are proud of the warmth of our relationship, your continued patronage and guidance, and extend our thanks for spending the entire day with us. Thank you very much, sir. As always. Invaluable support and guidance to be thanked for to Mr. Satish Singh and Mr. Shiv Shankar Singh. I also thank the chairpersons of our events, Professor Sharad Sareen, Mr. Manshu Seth, Dr. Sonia Rayat, Your presence, your guidance has been of immense encouragement to us. Thank you very much. We also thank all the paper presenters, both in the online and off DBMS Tatma High School, for letting us use of this beautiful hall to bring out the thoughts to build a better, more healthy, sustainable and happier tomorrow. I thank the visitors, guests, principals and teachers from institutes across Jamshedpur for their presence today. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pranav Sinha, I think he was not in the auditorium when his certificate was being given. I know the vote of thanks has already been given. I apologize for the same. I request Mr. Pranav Sinha to please come up onto the stage and collect his certificate. I request Mrs. Amrita Chaudhary to please come and start the DBMS anthem. Amrita ma'am, please start the DBMS anthem.
Yes, we are proud of you, will be true to